The galaxy was old, older than memory, older than the first ships that crossed the stars. For 10,000 years the galactic concord had ruled the three spiral arms. 12 species worked together in peace. They traded. They built great cities on 1,000 worlds. They thought they knew everything about the universe. But every species in the concord grew up hearing the same stories. They called them the Whisper Tailies. The Tailies spoke of strange creatures from a small blue world at the edge of the galaxy. These creatures walked on 2 legs. They had soft skin and no claws. They had no armor and no venom. By all logic, they should have died long ago. But the stories said they did not die. The stories said they were impossible. The creatures were called humans. Old mothers told their children about the humans before sleep. They said humans could heal from wounds that would kill any other species. They said humans hunted the deadliest beasts on their world and made them into friends. They said humans crossed great oceans on boats made of dead trees. They said humans walked on their own moon using nothing but fire and metal. The children listened with wide eyes. Then they grew up and forgot. Because everyone knew the truth. Humans were not real, they were just stories. The Concord's wise leaders had said so long ago. Humans were a myth, a fable, a tale invented to teach young ones about courage and strength, nothing more. Scholar did not believe this. She was a species with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Her people were known for their love of knowledge. They built the greatest libraries in the galaxy. They kept records of everything, and had spent her entire life studying the Whisper Tailies. She sat alone in her study on the world called Prime. Around her were thousands of old texts. Some were carved in stone, some were written on metal sheets, some were stored in ancient crystal memories. All of them mentioned humans. Too many stories, she whispered to herself. Too many details. Myths do not have this much detail. Her colleagues laughed at her. They called her the human chaser. They said she was wasting her life on children's stories, but did not stop. She could not stop. Something in her heart told her the humans were real. She had found something that no one else had noticed. The Whisper Tailies came from every species in the Concord. They came from worlds that had never contacted each other before joining the coalition. Yet all the stories matched. All of them described the same creatures, the same blue world, the same impossible deeds. How could 12 species invent the same myth? The answer was simple. They did not invent it, they remembered it. On this night was reading the oldest text she had ever found. It was a metal plate discovered in the ruins of a dead world. The writing was in a language no one could read, but the pictures were clear. They showed tall creatures with 2 arms and 2 legs. They showed great ships flying among the stars. They showed a small blue planet with 1 white moon. Trace the images with her long fingers. Where did you go? She asked the ancient pictures. What happened to you? Her communication device buzzed. She ignored it. It buzzed again and again. Finally, she picked it up with an annoyed sound. It was her assistant, a young Namedor. His face was pale. His eyes were wide with fear. Scholar, he said, his voice was shaking. You need to see this. Everyone needs to see this. What is it? I am busy with my research. The beacon, Or said. The ancient beacon at the galaxy's edge. It has been silent for 12,000 years, but now it is speaking. Felt her heart stop. She knew about the beacon. Every scholar knew about it. It was a massive structure floating in the empty space at the edge of the galaxy. No one knew who built it. No one knew what it was for. It had never done anything. Until now. What is it saying? Asked. Or swallowed hard. We do not know. The language is unknown. Our best translators are working on it now. But scholar, the beacon is not just speaking. It is pointing. Pointing where? Outward, into the void between galaxies, into the black where nothing lives. Stood up so fast that she knocked over a pile of ancient books. Her hands were trembling. Her mind was racing. She had dreamed of this moment for 50 years. She had prayed for it. And now it was here. "I am coming," she said. "Do not let anyone touch that beacon until I arrive." She ran through the halls of the great library. Other scholars looked at her with confusion. Never ran, was always calm and patient. But not today. Today she ran like her life depended on it. The translation came 3 days later. Was there when the head translator, a wrinkled old with 6 eyes, finally cracked the code. His hands were shaking as he read the words aloud. "The message is short," he said. "Just 3 words, but the language matches fragments we found in the oldest ruins, ruins that are 12,000 years old." "Read it," demanded. "Read the message." The old looked at her. Then he looked at the assembled senators and admirals and scientists who had gathered to hear. His voice was barely a whisper. "We're coming home." Silence filled the room. Then chaos erupted. Senators shouted questions. Admirals demanded explanations. Scientists argued about what it could mean. But did not hear them. She stood perfectly still. Tears rolled down her blue cheeks. A smile spread across her face. "I knew it," she whispered. "I always knew it." The humans were real. The humans were alive. And after 12,000 years of silence, they were coming back. Above the conquered's 1,000 worlds, the stars looked the same as they always had. But everything had changed. The old songs were about to become new again. The legends were about to walk among the living. And the galaxy would never be the same. The message spread across the galaxy like fire. Within days, every world in the conquered knew what the ancient beacon had said, and every world was afraid. The High Senate met in emergency session on the capital world of Nexus Prime. Senators from all 12 species sat in the great circular chamber. They argued. They shouted. They demanded answers that no one could give. Admiral Axe of the Dominion stood before them. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with thick armored plates covering his body. His species were the warriors of the conquered. They had kept peace for 10,000 years. They had never lost a battle. "We must remain calm," he said. His deep voice echoed through the chamber. "This message could mean anything. It could be a trick. It could be a malfunction. We do not even know if these humans exist." "And if they do exist," a senator asked, "what then?" Axe's 4 eyes narrowed. "Then we will be ready for them." He ordered the long-range sensors to scan the void between galaxies. For 100 years, those sensors had watched the empty black. They had never found anything. Space between galaxies was too vast, too empty, too cold. Nothing could survive there. The sensors found something. The technician who first saw the readings thought his equipment was broken. He checked it 3 times. Then he called his supervisor. The supervisor called the admiral. The admiral went pale. "How many?" X asked. The technician's voice trembled. "Thousands, Admiral. We count over 3,000 individual vessels. They are moving toward us at speeds we have never recorded. They will reach conquered space in 40 cycles." 3,000 ships. The entire conquered navy had only 2,000. And these unknown vessels were crossing the void between galaxies, a journey that should be impossible. Admiral Axe did not show his fear. He was a soldier. He gave orders. "Assemble the fleet," he commanded. "Every ship we have, send them to the threshold." The threshold was the only safe path into conquered space. Ancient gravity wells and radiation clouds blocked every other approach. Any invader would have to come through the threshold. It was the perfect place to make a stand. 800 warships gathered there. It was the largest fleet in recorded history. Admiral Axe stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's pride. Around him, his crew worked in tense silence. They watched their screens. They waited. The unknown fleet did not slow down. It did not change course. It did not respond to any message the conquered sent. It simply came, like a dark tide rolling across the stars. Watched from a small observation ship far behind the battle lines. The Senate had allowed her to come. They wanted a scholar present in case communication was possible. She stood at a window and stared into the black. "They are beautiful," she whispered. The ships emerged from the void like ghosts becoming solid. They were not like conquered vessels. Conquered ships were smooth and elegant. These ships were rough and angular. They were covered in thick armor plates. They bristled with weapons that could not identify. They looked like they were built for one purpose only: war. The fleet stopped just outside weapons range. 3,000 ships faced 800. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours. Then every screen in the conquered fleet flickered. Every communication channel opened at once. A single image appeared before every eye. It was a creature standing in a metal room. It stood on 2 legs. It had 2 arms. It had soft skin and short dark hair. Its eyes faced forward like a predator's eyes. It wore a uniform of dark blue marked with a symbol, a blue and green circle with 1 white moon. Stopped breathing. She was looking at a human, a real living human. The creature spoke. Its voice was firm and clear. "This is Fleet Admiral Maya of the United Earth Expeditionary Force." Admiral burned the name into her memory. 12,000 years ago, our ancestors left this galaxy. A great disaster threatened our world. Some of our people stayed behind to face it. Others fled into the void to ensure our species would survive. We traveled between galaxies. We slept in frozen chambers for thousands of years. We built new worlds in a new home. She paused. Her eyes seemed to look directly at every viewer at once. "Now we have returned. We come seeking our ancient home. We come seeking any who might remember us. We come in peace." Her expression changed. It became hard, cold, dangerous. "But let me be clear. We have crossed the empty dark between galaxies. We have survived things you cannot imagine. We did not come this far to be turned away. We seek only our home and peaceful contact. But if we are met with violence, we will respond." Her voice dropped lower. "And we are very, very good at violence." The transmission ended. Admiral Axe stood frozen on his bridge. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. He had trained his whole life for battle. He had faced pirates and rebels and criminals. He had never felt afraid. He felt afraid now. Not because of the numbers, not because of the strange weapons. He was afraid because of the human's eyes. He had seen many predators in his long life. He knew what a hunter looked like. Admiral had the eyes of something that sat at the top of its food chain, something that had never learned to fear. "What are your orders, Admiral?" his first officer asked. Axe was silent for a long moment. Then he did something he had never done before. He opened a channel to the human fleet. "Admiral," he said, "this is Admiral Axe of the Galactic Concord. We would like to talk." On the observation ship, let out a breath she did not know she was holding. The Whisper Tailies had spoken of human strength and human war, but they had also spoken of human wisdom. Perhaps, she thought, the legends knew both sides of the truth. The 2 fleets held position, weapons ready but silent. And in the cold space between them, the first true meeting between humans and the Conquered was about to begin. The Conquered was divided. Half the Senate wanted to attack immediately. They said the humans were invaders. They said the Conquered had faced threats before and always won. They said showing weakness now would doom them all. The other half wanted to talk. They pointed to the human message. The humans had said they came in peace. Perhaps they meant it. War with such a powerful force would cost millions of lives. Diplomacy cost nothing. In the end, the diplomats won. A delegation would meet with the humans face to face. Was chosen to represent the scholars. Admiral Axe would represent the military. 5 diplomats from different species completed the group. They boarded the Conquered flagship and flew toward the human fleet. The human ship they approached was called the Eternal Vigil. It was massive, larger than any Conquered vessel. Its dark hull seemed to swallow light. Weapon ports lined every surface, but as they drew closer, saw something else. She saw windows, she saw lights, she saw movement inside. The ship was not just a weapon, it was a home. They docked in a large bay filled with smaller craft. Human soldiers waited for them in neat lines. Stepped off the shuttle and got her first close look at the legendary species. They were exactly as the Whisper Tailies described. 2 arms, 2 legs, soft skin in shades of brown and pink and tan, hair on their heads in black and brown and yellow and red, forward-facing eyes in every color imaginable. They were smaller than most conquered species. They had no armor, no claws, no venom. They should have looked weak. They did not look weak. Every human stood perfectly still. Their eyes tracked the delegation with calm focus. Their bodies were relaxed but ready. Had seen predators rest like that, saving their energy for the moment they needed to strike. A human female stepped forward. She was older, with gray streaks in her dark hair. She wore the same blue uniform from the transmission. This was Admiral Maya. "Welcome to the Eternal Vigil," she said. Her voice was warm but careful. "I am Admiral. We have prepared a meeting room. Please follow me." They walked through the ship's corridors, looked at everything. The walls were covered with images and symbols. Some showed the blue and green planet from the old texts. Some showed humans in different clothes from different times. Some showed battles. Some showed families. These were not just warriors realized. These were people with history, with culture, with love. The meeting room was simple. A large table, chairs designed for many different body shapes. The conquered delegation sat on one side. The humans sat on the other. Admiral spoke first. She told them the story of humanity. 12,000 years ago, Earth faced destruction. A massive asteroid was falling toward the planet. The humans did not have the technology to stop it. They had a choice: stay and die together, or send some of their people away to survive. They built great ships. They filled them with millions of sleeping people. They launched them into the void between galaxies where the asteroid's damage could not follow. It was a journey of thousands of years. Many ships were lost. Many people died. But some survived. They found new worlds in a distant galaxy. They woke from their long sleep. They built new cities. They advanced their technology. They became stronger than they had ever been. And they never forgot home. "We have monitored the beacon at the galaxy's edge for thousands of years," Admiral said. "We always planned to return. We needed to know if Earth survived. We needed to know if anyone remembered us." Axe leaned forward. "Did Earth survive?" "We do not know yet. We came here first to the edge of conquered space. We detected your civilization. We detected similarities." "Similarities?" asked. Admiral gestured to a human in a white coat. The human woman stepped forward. She was their medical officer. "We have been scanning your delegation since you arrived," the doctor said. "I hope you do not mind. We were curious about the species who now control this region of space." "And what did you find?" Axe demanded. The doctor smiled. It was a strange expression, showing teeth but somehow not threatening. "Admiral, your species shares 3.2% of its genetic code with Earth life. Specifically, with engineered organisms we created before the Exodus. The same is true for 3 other species in your conquered." Silence fell over the room, felt the universe shift beneath her feet. "You are saying," Axe said slowly, "that we came from you." "In a manner of speaking," the doctor replied. "Before we left, we seeded many worlds with engineered life. We hoped that life would grow and evolve. We hoped that someday, if we returned, we would find friends waiting for us." She looked at each member of the delegation. "We found more than friends. We found children." His eyes filled with tears. The Whisper Tailies suddenly made perfect sense. Every species in the conquered remembered humans because their oldest ancestors had met them. The memory was written in their very blood. The old songs, she whispered. They were passed down from the beginning, from when your people walked among our ancestors. Admiral nodded. We taught them. We helped them start their journey toward the stars. Then we had to leave. We always hoped they would remember. We forgot, said. We turned you into myths, into children's stories. His expression softened. You remembered enough. You kept the stories alive. That is all that matters. Axe stood. His armored body was tense. His 4 eyes were wide with shock. For the first time in his life, the mighty admiral did not know what to say. Humans had created his species. Humans had created the Conquered itself. The legends were not just real. They were the beginning of everything. What do you want from us? He finally asked. Admiral stood to face him. Despite being smaller, she did not seem small. We want to come home, she said simply. We want to find Earth. We want to be part of this family we helped create. We want peace. She extended her hand. It was a human gesture somehow new, an offer of friendship. Axe looked at the hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, he reached out his massive armored claw and took it. Peace, he agreed. Let us begin. Not everyone celebrated the return of the humans. The hegemony had always been different from the other conquered species. They were tall and thin, with pale gray skin and black eyes that showed no emotion. They had joined the conquered long ago, but they never truly belonged. They thought they were superior. They thought the other species were weak. When the human doctor revealed that most conquered species came from human-seeded life, they saw their chance. Their leader, Supreme Commander Al, called an emergency meeting of his war council. His cold voice echoed through the dark chamber. The conquered species are nothing but human pets, he declared. They were created by these creatures. They are slaves by birth, but we share no human blood. We evolved on our own. We are the only true power in this galaxy. His generals nodded in agreement. They had waited for this moment for centuries. The humans are tired from their long journey, Al continued. The conquered is confused and divided. Now is the time to strike. We will destroy both and take our rightful place as rulers of the galaxy. They attacked without warning. Their fleet struck 30 conquered worlds in a single day. Millions died in the first hours. Cities burned. Space stations fell from orbit. The conquered was not ready. They were still trying to understand the humans. They never expected one of their own members to attack. But they were not finished. Their main fleet, hidden for years in secret bases, flew directly toward the human. Earth had been found just days before, a beautiful blue planet that had survived the ancient asteroid. The humans had wept with joy at the sight of it. Now they would take it from them. Supreme Commander Al led the attack himself. He had 900 warships. The humans at Earth had only 300. The math was simple. They would win. They are just legends, Al told his officers. Stories to frighten children. Today we show the galaxy what true power looks like. His fleet surrounded Earth. The human ships formed a defensive line. They were outnumbered 3-1. Any rational species would surrender or flee. The humans did neither. Admiral's voice came through on all channels. She sounded calm, almost bored. Fleet, you have attacked our allies and now threaten our. You have exactly one chance to withdraw. Take it. Al laughed. Withdraw. We will destroy you, human. Your legends mean nothing. Your time is over. His reply was short. Your choice. The battle began. The first ships exploded before they even fired. Human weapons moved faster than sensors could track. Human ships dodged and weaved through enemy fire like they could see the future. Human pilots took wounds that should have killed them and kept fighting. Al watched in shock. This was not how battles worked. When you outnumbered an enemy 3-1, you won. It was simple mathematics. The humans did not care about mathematics. The battle lasted 9 days. 9 days of constant fighting. 9 days of death and fire. They threw everything they had at the human line. Again and again they broke through. Again and again the humans pushed them back. On the third day, a cruiser crashed through the human defenses and landed troops on Earth. The soldiers expected easy victory. They found something else. Human ground forces met them on the beaches. They fought with weapons, then with knives, then with bare hands. When human soldiers fell, others took their place. When human soldiers ran out of ammunition, they picked up rocks. When human soldiers were wounded, they bandaged themselves and kept fighting. One officer sent a final message before he died. His voice was full of terror. "They will not stop," he said. "They will not run. They feel pain, but they ignore it. They see death, but they do not fear it. What are these things?" On the 9th day, the human counterattack began. Fresh ships arrived from other human worlds. Admiral herself led the charge. Her flagship, the Eternal Vigil, cut through the fleet like a blade through water. Where she went, ships died. Watched the battle from the conquered observation fleet. She had seen many things in her long life. She had never seen anything like this. The Whisper Tailies had spoken of human persistence. They said humans were creatures who simply refused to lose. They said humans would keep coming no matter how many times they fell. They said humans had stared into the dark of extinction so many times that they had forgotten how to give up. The Tailies were true. In 7 hours the fleet was destroyed. 900 ships reduced to burning metal and drifting bodies. Supreme Commander Al's flagship was captured, not destroyed. The humans wanted him alive. They dragged him before Admiral. The once proud leader was shaking. His black eyes were wide with fear. He had seen something that broke his understanding of the universe. "What are you?" he whispered. Admiral looked down at him. Her face was tired. Her uniform was torn and stained. She had been fighting for 9 days without rest, but her eyes were sharp and clear. "We are human," she said simply. "We are the species that crawled out of extinction again and again. We are the species that crossed the void between galaxies. We are the species that refused to die." She leaned closer. "And you just attacked our home." Al lowered his head. He had nothing left to say. Around Earth, the surviving ships surrendered. The battle was over. The planet that had given birth to humanity 12,000 years ago was safe. Stood on her observation deck and watched the human ships patrol above the blue world. She finally understood why the Whisper Tailies had survived so long, why every species in the galaxy remembered them. Humans were not gods, they were not monsters, they were not magical. They were simply the species that never, ever stopped. And that was more terrifying than any legend. The war was over. The hegemony had fallen. Their fleet was destroyed. Their leaders were captured. Their worlds waited in fear for human revenge. The entire galaxy held its breath. Everyone knew what came next. The humans had proven their power. They had crushed in 9 days. Their technology was beyond anything the conquered had ever seen. If they wanted to rule the galaxy, no one could stop them. The survivors of the attack gathered on Nexus Prime. Billions had died. 30 worlds had burned. The conquered was wounded and afraid. They looked to the sky and waited to see what the humans would do. A great assembly was called. Every species sent representatives to the Senate chamber. It was the largest gathering in conquered history. Admiral would speak, and her words would shape the future of the galaxy. Sat in the front row. She had been named humanity's first alien ambassador. It was an honor she never expected. She had spent her whole life studying human legends. Now she would help write new ones. Admiral walked to the center of the chamber. She looked small among so many alien bodies. She was just one human, shorter than most species in the room. But when she spoke, everyone listened. "They attacked without warning," she began. "They killed millions of innocent people. They tried to destroy by any law of war, we have the right to destroy them in return." The representatives lowered their heads in shame. They expected death. They expected their species to be wiped from the galaxy. Continued, many of my people wanted exactly that. After what we saw, after what we lost, revenge would feel good. It would feel right. She paused. But that is not who we are. A murmur ran through the chamber. We did not cross the void between galaxies to become tyrants, said. We did not survive 12,000 years of darkness to become destroyers. We left our home to live. We returned to remember. And now we must choose what kind of future we want. She turned in a slow circle, looking at every species in the room. They will face justice. Their leaders will answer for their crimes. Their military will be dismantled. But their people will not be destroyed. Their worlds will not burn. We will not become the monsters they feared. Felt tears forming in her eyes. This was not what anyone expected. This was not what conquerors did. Instead, continued, we offer something else, partnership. She gestured to a group of human officers standing nearby. They carried cases filled with data crystals. These contain everything we have learned in 12,000 years. Our medicine, our technology, our science, our history, all of it shared freely with every species in this chamber. Gasps echoed through the room. The knowledge of a civilization that had crossed between galaxies, given away for nothing. In return, said, we ask only 3 things. The chamber fell silent. First, we ask for Earth. We wish to live there again, to rebuild what was lost. That was reasonable. Every species nodded. Second, we ask for a seat on the conquered. We wish to be part of this great union, not rulers of it. We will have one voice among many, just like everyone else. More nods, more surprise. The humans could have demanded control. Instead, they wanted equality. Third and most important, his voice grew soft but strong. We ask for a promise from every species in this room, a promise that we will never let another species face extinction alone. She looked at the representatives, even at them. 12,000 years ago, our world faced destruction. We had no one to help us. We had to save ourselves or die. We made it. But the journey was long and dark and terrible. No one should have to face that alone. She spread her hands. So here is our offer, our ships, our soldiers, our scientists, our doctors. If any world faces disaster, we will come. If any species faces extinction, we will help. Not as masters, not as saviors, as family. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Admiral Axe stood. The massive warrior walked to the center of the chamber and faced Admiral. The conquered accepts, he said. His voice was rough with emotion. We accept your partnership, we accept your knowledge, and we make the promise you ask. One by one, every species in the chamber stood, even the shame and gratitude mixing on their gray faces. They all made the same promise. No species would face extinction alone, never again. Stood last, she walked to Admiral and took the human's small hand in her own. The old songs were true, she said softly. Every word, every tale, but they never mentioned this. Mention what? Asked. That humans were kind, smiled through her tears. All the stories spoke of human strength and human war. They never said that humans would choose mercy when they could choose revenge. They never said humans would offer friendship when they could demand surrender. Smiled back. It was a tired smile, but a real one. Maybe that's the part of the story that was too hard to believe. Above Nexus Prime, human ships flew alongside conquered vessels for the first time. Their different designs looked strange together, but somehow right. 2 fleets becoming one. 2 histories joining together. On Earth, human children played in the streets of rebuilt cities. Alien visitors walked among them, welcomed as guests. The blue planet that had sent its children into the void was alive again. It would never be alone again. And in libraries across the galaxy, scholars began writing new stories. Not whisper tales anymore. Real history. The true story of the species that crossed between galaxies and returned with open hands instead of closed fists. The story of humans who could have been conquerors, but chose to be family. Finished her first book on a quiet evening. She sat on a hill outside her home on Prime and watched the stars appear. Somewhere up there, Earth spun in its ancient orbit. Somewhere up there,